How is everybody doing this morning?
Pretty good, sir. How about you?
Good, good. I'm doing well, man. Just having my coffee, getting ready this morning. Um, yeah, went to bed a little late last night, but it's not too bad. I uh, I did some mods to my studio last night, so I'm kind of happy with the result.
Nice.
Uh, but yeah, it was good. The studio is now Aavegotchi themed, so I got the right colors in
Ooh,
play. Yeah. Um,
got any picks?
yeah, I'm gonna grab something for you guys right now. Oh, weird. Uh, Here, actually, I'll post off my phone. It's weird. Twitter just signed me out of everything. But here, I'll get you a pic. Makes the background pop a little bit. Post it in the chat.
GM2 Amanek.eth. I think that's the first time I've seen this friend in the chat.
Yeah,
Hello,
Amanek
hello,
will be
friend.
joining us today. He's part of the
Okay,
DAO Lens
cool.
team.
Ah, nice. Welcome.
Sorry, I shared in DAO discussion, guys. I can't go on my phone because it'll bump me out of this room. So, uh, check out DAO discussion.
Groovy.
It's there.
Good vibes.
That's kind of cool. You can change the hues and everything. So actually, you can color match the hue. You can point it at an Aavegotchi, like match the hue of the Aavegotchi. It's kind of cool. That plant reminds you of the Dow. Interesting. I've never seen a cactus flower like that actually. Hardcore. Yeah. I have a cactus. I've never seen it do that. I don't know. Maybe I'm not doing the right things. Okay. Well, why don't we get right into it this morning? We're gonna do our proposal review, and then we can get right into some presentations. We have quite a bit of a schedule today. It seems like I try and aim to make these as short as possible, but things do get filled out. So today we will be spending the first 15-ish minutes on proposal review. Then we got hardcore coming up right after that with his economic modeling plan. Uh, right after that, we'll have Amanek.eth come up for the Dow Lens partnership proposal Q&A. And then we have rarity farming. What's in store for the next season? We got two threads right now, kind of directly and indirectly addressing rarity farming. And I thought we could talk about that for a good 30, 25 minutes or so. So, next season of rarity farming and imagining the future of protocol rewards. Then after that, we have Awkward AI coming up with his idea for community-driven POAPs. And so he has a whole proposal around that. I'm kind of stoked to hear about that. We got ThriveCoin, who will quickly touch base. I don't think that'll take 20 minutes. It'll be a quick just touch base before they launch their SIG prop. And then right at the end there, I added also Coder Dan. You let me know there's a new XP airdrop claim page. We can kind of show folks where that page is, and maybe they can provide some feedback on it. So
Yep.
okay, so that's the schedule for today. We're not going to waste any time. We're just going to get right into it here. And actually, today, I'm actually going to go off the snapshot. So what we'll do here is we'll just run through these quickly. These are the most recent proposals coming through the DAO. Last week was a lot of SIG props, moving to core props now. So let's see, changing reservoir cooldown times by Quincy. This proposal is putting forth a mechanic change to the reservoir cooldown times. I think Hardcore might actually touch on this one today, but the vote is right now 54% in favor of changing the reservoir cooldown times and 45% against, with a 9.7 million vote, meaning, 9.7 votes, meaning quorum. Does not meet the differential of 15% yet. So, and I believe the vault also has not voted on that one.
Because there's only two options here. I think it's 10%. So
Oh,
yeah,
right.
it's not meeting. Yeah, for 3 it's 15, and 4 it's 20%.
I still don't. I still think it's, well, it's just a hair under, but we'll see.
It's still not passing. Yeah,
Yeah, but that could change quickly. If the vault decides to, if the vault is voting on that, that will change. So we'll see what happens with
looks like
that
the
one.
vault is pretty overwhelmingly against it at
Okay,
this point.
okay. Ends in 1 day here, so go vote on that. You have 1 day to get your vote in. Creating a DAO Treasury Dashboard by Mikey J. This was a collaborative proposal between Mikey J and iTree to fund, I believe it's 2,000 DAI paid to fund a dashboard for Aavegotchi DAO. And so this one is heavily in favor of, 96% in favor of, 10.9 million votes already meeting quorum. We have the Ghost Ship Summoning by T-Bird. The Ghost Ship is a proposal to put forward a sail on a 45-foot yacht. Not a yacht, but it's a catamaran. It's a big boat. And, having it out on the water as a marketing initiative under OG Gotchi Gang member who runs his own charter business and regularly onboards Gotchi Gang um, from his charters. So the ask here is for 7,700 USD, paid for a sale that is slated to last between 5 and 10 years. And so that works out to be a average advertising cost of about between 7 and 1,400 a year, which is it's amazing. And so far, this one is 62% saying no, 37% saying yes, with 11 over 9 million votes. And I think the vote was they were in favor of this one. We'll see how this one shakes out. But this is probably, in my opinion, the best marketing money right now that the DAO could spend. Even if you compare it to other endeavors, maybe not quite the same, but like ETH Denver, this is relatively, relatively inexpensive compared to an initiative like that. And it is a different kind of marketing, but it's passive marketing, but also with an active component, being T-Bird on the boat, actually being very knowledgeable about Aavegotchi. So not just random Joe with Aavegotchi on his sail, but actually a educated Aavegotchi member capable of onboarding new users, and who already has. So yeah, I agree, hardcore. I feel like it's more of a gift to the DAO, and so normally you got to sponsor the team and the vehicle, right? So Vault is around 60-40 in favor at the moment. I mean, I don't feel like this should be a very contentious proposal, but that's my opinion. I think it's money well spent, and regardless of what happens here, I think we should keep pushing forward on that initiative. Egypt 78, Alchemica Spending Competition Season 2. This was put forward by Immaterial, and this is an iteration on the last time around, and so this will be a little bit different. Interesting. Week 1 it will be FUD multiplier. Week 2 will be a FOMO multiplier. Week 3 an alpha multiplier, and week 4 KEK. So these multipliers will shake things up. There will also be a new super proto liquidator to be released, and maybe even some tiles and decorations as well. Off-chain item spending will be included. And, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out in the Discord or to Mark or Immaterial, directly. Forge 2.0 request for funding. This was put forward by Dr. Wagme and the Forge team, currently sitting at 58% in favor of, 41% against. And so the proposal here is to hire a Forge team for a 3-month period with a UI UX focus, adding 3 new schematics, completed the respec potion along with distribution, adding a dressing room with a similar art and RPG feel to help you optimize your Aavegotchis and know that what you're forging is, what you actually need. So, no further plans for cores or alloys, and the goal here is to accrue value to the native assets. The compensation is denominated in USD for a total of 161,000 for the Forge team and a 10,000 Ghost bounty budget. Yeah. So far, this one is passing so far, and I'm sure the Vault is voting in favor of this one. Agip 80, funding development of Strategachi, the digital multiplayer version. The funding request is 431,400 USD over a development time of 4 to 6 months. And so this is Bin Laden's idea of. Actually, I have a summary here. This is a game that takes place in the Gachiverse grid and features a new type of asset called guild cards, which are basically NFT assets with in-game utility. There's a ranked mode, buy-ins, degen game modes. These will create deflationary pressure on gachis and wearables. They will also plan to host a Strategachi inaugural guild tournament. So this grant is specifically for the digital version of the game, although there's a PC physical also being discussed. Currently, this vote has 52% against, voting no, and 47% voting yes. Quorum has already been met with 11 over 9 million votes. You have currently 2 days to vote on this one. Agip 81, DAO Directors, Treasury Officer role by Maxi Crouton, taking or being nominated as DAO Treasury Officer. As the current director receives a payment of 2,000 Ghost every 3 months. Given the active nature of the role, he wants to dedicate a few hours per day, basically, specifically with treasury management, and so abstracting away a lot of the responsibility on each of the signers and kind of directing the other signers to execute when needed. And so increasing compensation to 5,000 Ghost per 3 months. Currently, we have 91% overwhelmingly in favor of and 8.25% against. Quorum's been met at 12 million over 9 million votes. Last one here, Agip 82 mechanic change. Channeling Alchemica through a -2 kinship burn. This proposal reattempts to change the kinship mechanics so that kinship points are burned during each gachi channeling event. This will it will force someone to choose between burning their kinship in order to channel and take the channeling reward, or to accrue the kinship and to benefit during rarity farming. One of the benefits will be this trade-off and the strategy involved with that trade-off, and might actually shake up the leaderboard maybe a little bit. But the other side of this could be potentially people thinking that rarity farming needs to happen more often because their gachis now have lost the ability to earn. Not lost, but the kinship is so high it doesn't make sense. The opportunity cost is too high to burn that. Hardcore. That was right on time, wasn't it? Okay, let's get you up here.
Nice.
GM, welcome. Can you hardcore? Can you turn your volume just a little bit?
Is that better?
Yeah,
Could be a little bit louder.
yeah. You could go a little bit louder. I just want to make sure they can hear
Or
you on the stream. How does he sound? Does he sound okay on your end? Yeah, you could go a little bit more, man.
I need to
Pump
see
it.
if there's another volume somewhere then.
Oh, you're running out of volume boost. That's okay. You know what? I'll turn you up on my end. It'll still come through fine. I think it'll be okay. It might clip a little. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna do the same thing. Can you speak for a second?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, you're
Yeah,
coming.
I think I could speak for maybe a couple seconds.
Yeah, no. I mean, you can speak for a while here. I just want to make sure you sound good. Yeah, you're good. So, welcome. We're gonna be discussing some economics today. Something you're you're pretty passionate about, and so I'm gonna let you take the lead on this here for the next 20 or so minutes. And is there anything, first of all, is there any document or anything you would like to share in the chat before we
Yeah, I think you did share something. Do we want to
Yeah,
put that
I
on
think
the
they did
screen?
drop that in.
yeah, I'm gonna put it up on the screen. There we go. I'll open that up. Okay. Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was not what you're expecting, right?
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, it's awesome. So Aavegotchi DAO wearable guild channeling. I have that up on screen. Would you like to lead on this, or do you want me to run through the document?
Well, I guess basically what this comes down to is obviously the original recipe is just it's as wrecked as as channeling is right now. So some things have to change with it, and but not too much actually, because what happened here is the forge has set us up with a way to do the crests that creates a feedback loop between the two economies, where the process of trying to get and defend your crests or get multiple crests or pretty much everything's so distributed that everything is distributed so far that it's going to be really hard to maintain control of a crest. And every time you initiate this process of fighting over it, you're going to be causing lots of alloy burn. And I I don't know enough math actually to model that part, but it just looks like it's gonna snowball inwards in a little black hole of we're gonna have to like print assets and sell assets and fill the Dow trade and stuff because we're gonna run out of stuff.
Yeah, it seems like you're
It
looking
goes
for.
inwards
Yeah.
really quick
Mm-hmm.
if with the mechanic I've got proposed here, where you so the way you get the crest is we set up a contract and what happens is every week, probably at the beginning of Hangout, the contract triggers and it checks all the lodges, and it just starts with whichever lodge has the most schematics of any sort staked. It starts with that one, and then just goes down the line and assigns the crests. If
So
no one has
I'll
anything
just
staked for an item, it doesn't get assigned.
okay. I just want to clear one thing up before we move forward, just to
Mm-hmm.
make sure I'm on the right page. So what this is addressing is some uh wearable inflation that will potentially happen over time, one way or another, through different channels, even if it's not through the channels we can kind of what you're saying. And so using a smart contract to add
Well,
utility.
Well, the smart contract is just a straight up. We need to take things out of our hands. Period. Like that's just the way to be. Like that's the point of Web3. Like
Yeah.
you can have a fair game. Things can be done reliably, and then then things can be high stakes, and then things matter. But we have to get ourselves out of the loop and just make systems that work without us.
Right. And so the system smart contract um, that ties in with guild channeling, lodge, of course. And so maybe, yeah, sorry, continue on with the schematics. You're staking them. There's a vesting period. How does
Okay,
all
yeah.
that work?
So this goes once a week, and the when you get the crest is good for well, it's good for until someone takes it. Yeah, because it goes to the lodges. So it's completely possible to make it so that that smart contract has the right to take things back from the lodge. You just build that in because because we're all the same people really. And but I'll take a quick screenshot here. The just I did the math with just say like for one godlike, if one godlike gets smelted or forged for it, that doubles the glitter expense that you would have had from like fast building a level 9 lodge. Just one of those actions, just once, and we're talking crazy numbers here too. Like if you want to do it, you're gonna like it, people are gonna casually do stuff, and it's gonna add up really fast because like I think like with the commons it break you, the to get the ROI in a reasonable range you have to be doing over well to, if it's 52 weeks if you do 500 commons. And
Sorry, what?
500 is a lot of people. Like really what this all comes down to is that this is getting our rewards in line with our behavior. It's actually rewarding something that benefits everybody because the behaviors that you must do to be the most profitable at this is involve more people, get more people to come,
Yeah.
organized, know more people, um, and cause deflation, and actually participate. And one of the nice things about this is because description said that everyone meets up on the parcel and it's just going to be spillage. And obviously we're not going to go for that. I'm not even going to ask you guys if what you think about that because I know you're going to not want to do it that way. And but we were told that we can go in the lodges, so the lodges could just be an instance like the arena or whatever, and but smaller. And so we do the whole thing in the lodge, and so the value proposition for the lodge owner is that they get the unspilled stuff. So level 1 would be 100 because well, yeah, the level 1 pays itself fast, but that's you're just straight up sharing with everyone. And then as you go up, you get a greater share. And uh, I was stuck on this one for a while because the, another hole in the whole thing is that fact that amount of wearables there is determining what the emissions level is
So,
instead of the lodge level. So to fix that, I'm adding a daily because well, there's a hole there, and then there's also a hole where the lodge level goes up. You get you can have more crests, and that causes insanity. I it's absolute economic ruin at high levels. Like if you, it takes yeah, with five, so with five godlikes at a level 9 lodge, you're looking at an 11 at, at the 11-week mark is when it's emitted at the same amount as it costs to create it. I mean,
So,
obviously you didn't get all that
yeah.
because like,
Hmm.
other people pick it up, but we don't care about that. I don't care who gets it.
So like if
All that
there's if
matters is what are we putting out and what are we putting in.
right. I
So
mean,
obviously,
if you're
if you
able
could have
to
3 crests on that level 9, you're looking at yeah, you're looking at a less than 4-week ROI on that, and that's just
right. I mean, just to make sure
unacceptable.
people
And
aren't getting lost here, like what at a high if at a very high level, what is like the problem if you were to sum it up in a sentence that this proposal is going to address or solve? Just in a general sense for anybody who might not, might kind of got lost in the sauce a bit.
okay, so the, which problem? Like all the problems. We've got this massive backlog of coins that we just don't have anything to spend them on. Like it's got to go somewhere. We can't just make ridiculously expensive things to buy for no reason, or we've got some levers that we've been pulling that are hold your nose and pull the levers. And if we keep doing, we should stick with we should stick with the distasteful things we're already doing and leave it at that, and then do something comprehensive like this, where we come in and the math is rigged, so that it's going to wipe it out. Like honestly, if everything had happened on schedule, this this whole thing would have taken years to play out because you would have wiped out all the elk right away. Like there wouldn't the
So
lodges. So
yeah.
to build enough lodges to take care of all the profitable, the all the wearables that math says are definitely profitable if you do them, just to take care of those ones takes all the elk in existence plus everything that's going to happen till the end of the year. And like you're talking about like messing with people's empty times or just other ways to troll people and like make things more of a pain in their butt. And we've got this thing sitting here where we could just hit the reset button. It hits the reset button and then it keeps smashing it.
So this is a system that's that you would like to implement, and I'm going to refer to Dr. Wagme's comment here a little bit. Just at a very basic level, it's going to give you the ability to stake schematics for guild towards guild channeling, which will also divert Alchemica away from channeling and farming to wearables, and then giving utility to schematics, which can support the overall wearables market by incentivizing like wearable combining or smelting. Is that in a general
Okay,
sense?
actually, yeah, no, sorry, I just took, I managed to read the chat,
Yeah.
and yeah, I tangented there. The thing with the crests and the having multiple of them, I found a solution to that. And like, so when I started this whole thing, the my original idea was that I was going to figure out what an appropriate amount of total emissions for this entire sector would be, and then it would just be first come first serve. Like it starts at zero. It starts when the new weekly bar starts, and that's how much there is to get. And it's probably more than you're going to get, but it's out there as a hard limit in case the math gets weird or whatever. And and then now I'm at the opposite end of that with it. I think the way you do it to make it so that people need to level up their lodges, and so that the numbers don't get broken by the whole, because you can't limit the level 1 down by with capacity by saying gotchis, because the guy like only needs 5 gotchis. So like all the numbers are I don't know, the way Aavegotchi is designed, it always creates these situations where you have like a low thing and a high thing and a log thing and an exponential thing, and then a thing that's just percents. And so the solutions are always bizarre. Solution is that you take it's a daily channeling, and that would be equal to, I guess, for the level 9 lodge, it would be slightly more than you could get from 5 godlikes. So yeah, you could have 3 slots there, but you're if you hit the peak, you hit the peak. But I mean, most people aren't going to be able to achieve that anyways. So you'd want the 3 slots just to make up um, one full use of the capacity.
Okay. All right. So I mean, you have some recommended next steps here. I think we should take some time to run through what you're recommending here we do to move forward with this proposal. So you have recommended next steps. Maybe you can take us through some of the recommended steps here.
I'm sorry, I can't read and listen at the same time. Just trying
Okay.
to catch up
I
here.
can read out the points if you'd like to. Like, can do that. Or the first one here says, fund a bounty to complete the economic model to a point where it is a public good, and even people who don't do math can use it to test proposed changes. And so it says you're
Yeah,
happily.
like that's the
Go ahead.
like as I've been going through this and because I mean the second I thought of doing it this way, I knew that the math would work out, but then in the process of trying to get all the numbers, I've come to the conclusion that we should we should get this done and like maintain a full model of our math, and it should be set up and just like if someone wants to make a proposal to do something, it's it's much it's too ridiculous to ask them to do what I've been doing every time. So we don't ask them to do it, so nobody does it. Nobody has to justify their numbers. They just make crap up and like pull something off Dune, and it's just a number because it's the number because it's the only number they can find. And if that's not any way to do stuff. Like instead, we
So
should be maintaining like an open source spreadsheet of some sort that you can play with. You
will
know?
this be part of the economics task force? Like, will they be undertaking this as a bounty, like to work on this as a team? You know, you mentioned here placing lodges directly after arena launch, after the roadmap, uh, where the SDK attaches. You have like some other features here, but I mean, I'm curious maybe to hear from Coder Dan as well on the timeline for these for the guild channeling and the arena from the PC perspective.
It's on the roadmap for 2023. There's a lot of other things related to the arena that we want to make sure we get through, but lodges are definitely a part of the Gotchiverse that we want to get out to everyone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I
like,
mean, I can't give like a
time
time on exactly what month it's gonna come in though.
well, there's a couple of the things that other a couple of the other community based things that appear to be probably happening, or at least people are going to try really hard to make them happen. Um, they all these things kind of feel like you could funnel it through the lodge. Like essentially, if this is done right, the lodge becomes like kind of a wrapper almost. It like where like yeah, if you put the SDK in there and this becomes like your multi-sig and it's like your own little instance, it it that's where you can offload all of this extra work off of PC because you're making this portal for us to be able to own part of the verse, you know? Because it's your lodge, and then you that's a safe spot. It's like a demarc zone, you know?
So, Corey, we have
Like
just
instead of like having places you can in the verse. No, it should just be in your lodge or attached to the lodge or something like that because there's a point where you can separate it. You can separate your security and liability by the lodges inside.
yeah, interesting. I mean,
That
interesting
makes sense. I don't know.
perspectives.
I've
I want to
been a
touch
long
on
night.
one last point here, hardcore. We have like maybe a minute left here. So you have placed a moratorium on tokenomics changes until lodges are out and the effects can be measured. Do you want to touch on that point real quick, and then we'll move on to the next?
Yeah, or even if we don't like go on lockdown to do our next thing that we're planning on doing, we need to at least have some sort of like something cooked for 2 weeks. Like it has to be in play for 2 weeks at minimum. If and then you measure it and say what happened. Like we're everything we do upsets people. Like it's not okay. Like we there's a point where you're just poking people by doing stuff. Like even if they don't care, they're mad that you're changing stuff. Even if it affect them, they get mad because you can do a whole bunch of stuff in a row. You don't have time to test it and see what the effect is. It was just you doing stuff and you caused so much chaos that who knows? And
Okay.
honestly, like the math on this thing I've got here is it's out of scale with any sort of thing that we could nerf ourselves into. Like, because this causes the so. I mean, I think about like the money people get from elk from selling elk, right? It's small money, small regular money, and the that so you could transfer value from that small regular payment that you're receiving there over to sneakily scraping up cheap scams,
Okay.
and
So
it becomes like a little side game in the background that you're doing,
okay.
and then value can go. There's so many ways it traverses
Yeah.
across the ecosystem,
Yeah. I think
and it
hardcore.
all ends in burns.
Yeah, totally. Coder Dan, I think addresses that one point, summarizes it well. Says I agree with hardcore's perspectives. Bit more focus on the larger goals, larger perspectives, and less about making a series of micro adjustments, which will lead us to nowhere. And so that's something to keep in mind here. Just quickly ran your whole proposal like Eli 5, just explainer. Basically, this talks about some of the problems with game mechanics and how it currently works, such as the cost of building a high level lodge, and since some parts of the game are either not very fun or not very fair. And so you're suggesting some changes to make the game better, like maybe using some sort of a smart contract to distribute crests more fairly and changing how just changing how tokens are distributed. And so the report also recommends creating a team to work on making a detailed plan for how the game should work in the future, and not to make any more big changes until they have more data on how these changes will affect the game. Just the R. But where can people go if they want to learn more, if they want to talk to you about this stuff? Where can we send them?
I don't know. You can just always blow me up.
Okay, yeah. So DM Hardcore if you actually do have any more questions around this. We'll follow up with you here, and if you do, want to come up another time as well, and we can do a little bit more.
Oh yeah, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I forgot to mention. Like I I only gave you like 20% of what I've got because I wanted to see. I just assumed that people are going to come up with some crazy thing that I didn't think of that I'm going to need to address, and I just wanted to get to the point where you guys tell me some crazy stuff and I have to refute it
Yeah. No, I mean
before I
it's
like dig any more
yeah,
deep, dude. Because like this
true.
this spreadsheet's wild, and like
I know.
it's getting deeper and it's
Hmm.
becoming a program, and I
Well,
I don't want to like write the wrong thing and
yeah,
find out that I need to know some other thing.
totally. Yeah, well, I mean, I appreciate you taking the time here today to run us through this. I think you're setting a good precedent of having a healthy conversation like this well before the game mechanics will be implemented, and I think it's the right time to have a conversation around something like this. So,
Yeah,
thank
it's like
you.
no, like a best practice. Best
Yeah,
practice. If we are even thinking we might stick our nose in it, or tell PC that like we don't like it their way, or we want to have a say. When it's the second something hits the roadmap is when we should start having opinions.
right.
Not once they've started working on it. If it says on roadmap but not started, that's when you talk about it right then.
Yep, yep, yep. No, I
You got
appreciate your
like
time.
4 months to have like a smart conversation and like get to see how other things are playing out.
Yep.
Because it's always the wrong time if you only have a minute.
Yeah, I'd love
Like,
to keep chatting, my friend, but unfortunately, we got to move on. We got to move on to the next topic
yeah, I
here.
won't bet.
But we are always happy to discuss. Yeah, please plug any discourse threads, anything that you have in the chat there for folks that might want to get involved.
I think
Um,
there is the Glitter Alchemica Glitter Economic Task Force. I'll go ahead and show the link for that because that's where a lot of this is happening. I think a lot of
okay,
good conversations. I don't really follow a lot of them in there, but I know there's a lot of good stuff happening there. So let me just drop the link for that.
okay, awesome. Next topic here: rarity farming. What's next in store? What's in store for the next season? And so the next season of rarity farming proposal, and also a conversation around imagining the future of protocol rewards. And so I'm going to give you guys a couple links here. If you have not seen these links, there is some good conversation happening in there that's definitely worth checking out. So that's what we're going to be talking about here today. Let me just get down to the section. Rarity farming, what's in store for the next season? Hang on 1 second. Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped ahead. Actually, we're gonna have Almanac.eth come up for DAO Lens, the DAO Lens partnership proposal, and a low Q&A. Sorry about that, guys. I skipped ahead. So Almanac.eth, if you can get your hand up there, I will get you up on stage, and we'll run through the DAO Lens and Aavegotchi DAO partnership proposal, specifically addressing proposal management. And we can also drop the doc in the chat there as well. Here, I'll invite you up.
Hey,
GM,
GM,
hello.
I hope everyone can hear me.
Yep, you're sounding good. Mm-hmm.
Yep. So happy when you were like just giving me the access, I was not able to hear you. There was some issue with my microphone. Were you saying something right before you send me the invite?
No. I was just saying we're gonna get Almanac.eth to come up here. We will be talking about the DAO Lens and Aavegotchi DAO partnership, specifically addressing proposal management. And we can run through that, some of the Robin AI training for Aavegotchi DAO specifically, and then some work or feature rollout specific to Aavegotchi DAO that we can also mention.
Awesome. Perfect. So like, would you like to get started with the partner definition of partner program itself?
Yeah, I think we can start there, and then we can see if there's any time at the end for Q&A. But also, if you do have questions during the discussion, please put them down in the chat. I'll be sure to field those.
Perfect. So let's get started with the definition of partner program first. So first of all, Happy, thank you for having me here. Let me just do one thing. I'll quickly start by sharing my screen. And I'll give a quick walkthrough of what the program is all about. So I'm just sharing it. Please let me know. I think it should be visible now.
Yeah, it's yep, here we go. We can see it.
Perfect. So, for basically what we are doing here is that we are working on a very specific module where we'll be integrating Robin engagement. So, on the DAO manager, so if you were there on our previous demo call, which was a couple of, we showcased how Robin AI is working in the discussions forum. So, essentially, how you can AI to draft discussions for you, how you can summarize those, and there were like a lot of different things that you can do in AI in a discussion forum as a model. But effectively, can use it in proposal management as well. So that is what we'll be working with Aavegotchi DAO, this definite program essentially. So what will be the key highlights? Like essentially the crux of this kind of program is that we'll be co-building this module with DAO members at Aavegotchi, so that it's developed in such kind of a way that it makes the most sense for the DAO, for the needs of the DAO, and the certain steps that we'll take to make sure actually being of value to Aavegotchi DAO itself. So those steps essentially be, so first thing is that of course we'll get on with the introductory part, which will be the DAO itself,
Oh,
and of course
Dominic, you're sounding a
Aavegotchi.
little bit muffled. Your mic is a little bit muffled. I don't know
One
if
second,
it's
uh, is it fine now?
yeah. I think it just sounded like it was rubbing against something. I don't know. It's now though.
Okay, perfect. So the highlights of the program will be that there will be regular one with the core team from Aavegotchi and one with the entire team. Then every week, understanding what we should be working on around this particular module, how exactly we can showcase it to the entire company. We'll cover those things in the cadences. Apart from that, we will be training Robin AI on various proposals from the past and everything that new is coming up. Apart from this, what will happen is that we would be requiring the community to share a couple of sample prompts that you be asking for a proposal. Right? So, for example, if a proposal is floated and you just want a quick, it's just one kind of a prompt, but there can be some certain things which are very specific to Aavegotchi, right? So, would love if the community would share their thoughts on what those kind of prompts can be. It would not be like that the community can only then ask with those prompts, but essentially there will be some very basic prompt engineering that we'll do on the back end for Robin AI so that any kind of Aavegotchi proposals written, if it comes up, Robin AI will be able to. What also requires, since this will be a new functionality on the DAO manager where we have brought in AI for proposal management, it would be awesome if we can also have a team of people that are actually DAO so that in close coordination will be testing the platform with the curve. And if there's any kind of issue or if there's any kind of refinement that is required, we can take care of that ASAP. They will be using onboarding completely streamlined in this program. So everything that goes
You went muffled. Sorry, you went muffled again.
Yeah, I'm not sure this happens really. If you let me do one thing, let me just switch.
Okay, yep, no problem. Sometimes it's just the Bluetooth be a little bit with Discord.
So like when I'm speaking, yeah, I think
Yeah, you're like 1,000 times better now, for sure.
that's good. That's good. Right. So I was covering the user onboarding part. So under this definition program, we'll also be helping Aavegotchi DAO through regular. So these can be either in two ways. We can also like of course schedule some kind of trips to introduce how Aavegotchi will be using DAO Manager. But apart from that, there will of course be Discord community calls such as this one, so where we can like showcase the screen and walk through what exactly is happening on the DAO manager and run through it, explaining how exactly all the features can be used and how you can make the best use of the platform. That will be one thing. And lastly, I cover the timeline part in this document. So essentially, what we would need is that the development of this kind of a functionality would require up to around a 4 weeks time from our end. So apart from that, take around 1 or 2 weeks to onboard the members onto the DAO manager and promote the idea of using so that it kind of becomes like a habitual platform for the community members. Community members become a power user of the platform. So covering quickly the benefits around it. So of course it will become one very robust platform for the entire DAO where you can manage everything that goes on. So whether it's proposal, whether it's discussion already has Robin AI. Now proposals also have. So now everything that you do in terms of discussions and proposals can be made really smooth and streamlined. It is also trained specifically for Aavegotchi DAO. That is just one thing. Apart from that, there will be, of course, user onboarding assistance and, of course, priority support. So if there's any kind of issue, anything that the community is facing, uh, in terms of like any question you have, any concern. So for that, of course, there will be priority support for the community. And we usually like covering the fourth point really quickly. So we usually take care of customized solutions at a charge at a one-time charge of 10K USDC. But since we'll be co-developing the entire model Aavegotchi DAO, will be percent. These were the like basic features covered in this around the definition partner program. Start with Hefe, and there are other features as well that we can work around with Aavegotchi DAO. So I can probably like reiterate this document and also include well under it itself. So that can be another thing which we can come up with. But right now I have this what we have covered till date. Ends for me.
Awesome. I just see some people asking, missed our previous discussion or not been aware of it. Just give them a quick, just little summary of what Robin AI is and specifically what we're trying to do here with proposal management.
Got it. So my screen should still be visible. So folks,
Yeah.
those who are not there, I think folks have joined in, of course, in this call. This is the DAO manager which I'm showing you right now. And what happens here is that you can manage your entire community's entire DAO's operations without having to jump between different platforms. So like that is a very basic crux of it. Of course, we can probably schedule another call if you like a very in-depth demo
sure.
of the platform.
Yeah, we
But
can
let
do
me
that.
just quickly cover a few features. Yeah, let me just quickly features right here itself. So what Robin AI is essentially, it's assistant. It's the GPT powered assistant that can help you in summarizing discussions on the DAO manager. For example, right now I'm in one discussion channel right over here using Discourse. On Discourse here in the DAO manager. Similarly, in Discourse, what you have as topics to these posts. So this is like one over here. This is another post. You can of course post by clicking this button. But here is the modal for Robin AI. Now this is where you can play around with AI and things done really quickly without having to like actually go and understanding what exactly is happening. Now here's
Sorry,
this
when that compare posts tab that showed up there, that could be really interesting for Aavegotchi DAO. Where it says compare
right.
posts.
So
yeah.
Right. So these are the kind of prompts the DAO as well to understand like what are exactly are those kind of questions that you usually go around for the proposals, right? So that we can actually train Robin AI in such a manner that it adds the real value to the DAO itself. Now, like example, covering for Robin AI, like what exactly it does. So for example, right now you can see here are a couple of sample prompts that are there, but of course you can are relevant to all the posts here from Robin AI itself. The thing that you can do is now, for example, you have this one channel which talks about a particular project. Then there are let's suppose 1 or 12 different posts around that project. Now you just want a quick summary of it. About like you are not able to look at Discord a long time. You are not able to look at these posts for quite a while, and you are out of you're just having a vacation or something. So you can probably just have a quick summary of these posts by clicking on this prompt. So Robin AI essentially what it does is it all of this content that is here in front of you, and it tries to summarize exactly what is written so that you won't have to go through all the posts and proposals that are put up. This is the brief context of Robin AI. It will try to summarize everything that is the result as is suggested by you, but it is live in this discussion forum. It is only tweaked enough requirements of a discussion. What we are planning at DAO is we can probably also loop in Robin AI for proposal management. Posting a proposal on Snapshot it will be also reflected back manager because it is two-way integrated. And similarly, if you do something, for example, if you create a proposal on the DAO manager, it will be reflected back on snapshot. So like, yes, so Robin was able to give me this quick summary. I can, of course, create another post out of it, and I can do a bunch of different things. But like proposal management scene here. So essentially what you can do is you can take your snapshot, the DAO manager, but Robin AI functionality is not available on the proposal management system. So this is the first feature that we will be working with DAO with. We can bring in Robin over here so that you can do a lot of different stuff. For example, if there's a proposal sorted, you just want to get a crux of it, you can do that. You want to determine what are the pros and proposal, you can do that. If you want to probably like have some very specific question relating to the specific operations within Aavegotchi, do that because we'll be training it specifically for everything that goes on with Aavegotchi. And this would be the entire which we'll be working on.
So when you say
You can
training,
also like ask, of course,
training the Robin A to Aavegotchi DAO, you have running through the previous data of Aavegotchi DAO, like these sets, the AI model, and so the AI specific to Aavegotchi DAO would have Aavegotchi DAO specific knowledge. And so if there was like a proposal that was put up like a year ago and somehow that proposal, that information in that proposal has something to new proposal being posted today, like the AI would have context of that, right? It would be like, oh, this proposal, and now so they want to do a comparison, it would actually be able to do that, right?
What happens here, Hefe, is that like if you a lot of data to Robin AI, so for example, there's a limit to it. For right now, it's around 8,000 tokens, which you can use basically, which you can use GPT for. And after that, it just forgets what it was taught to. So this is something which I'll have as well as to like how much data we actually train. But yeah, this is what possible. We'll have to understand what specific details we can give to Robin AI to begin with. But like training proposals from 1 year ago, since there will be a lot of data, I am not exactly that would really work out well. But the very basics of it, for example, what is the what is ghost or something very specific to Aavegotchi in terms of like things, we can definitely make sure that that is trained. Apart from that, if there's kind of like custom prompts that you think the community, like we can probably push out a form kind of a thing with the community. We can ask folks like what kind of prompts would make sense, what they usually go around asking in proposals, specifically for those, for sure.
Okay. My cam. Looking in the chat here for any questions.
Are you guys planning to implement any sort of like vector data so you won't have to send all that information to ChatGPT every time?
So this is something which we are actually doing right now. So what will happen is, for example, we are working for one organization based in India for, it's basically a brokerage. What we are doing for them is we are training a lot of financial reports. So what we are now, for example, if someone asks Robin AI about a particular question, the answer of that will be saved in the data. If someone asks it again, we won't be like sending another trigger API. So yep, that is something which we can work out on.
Okay, I think there was a
And
go ahead, Coder Dan.
did we hear the price for what this service is going to be?
Right. So under the definition of right, shall I take it up?
Yeah, go ahead.
Right. So what we are doing here is that we usually take like custom development of such features for around 10,000 USD. Since we'll be co-developing it with Aavegotchi, there will be a massive discount of 80%. So it will bring brought down line for like a one-time charge. But apart from that, there will be a subscription for the DAO manager, which will be at 199 USD. So that is something which we are just finalizing how we'll be pricing the platform for subscription as well. I was having a discussion with Hefe was that right after this call, I'll start working on a quotation which I can share with the DAO to basically highlight everything that there is. And since we'll be like working for this kind of a platform in close partnership, I'll make sure that there will be a massive discounts like these for everything that.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to reiterate that this is in developing, the whole module for Robin AI, there will be a huge community component here. Be hosting, just like how we do with our Monday call ThriveCoin, I'll be hosting a DAO Lens development session every week where anybody in the DAO who feels a useful feature that we might want to implement or who has a useful prompt that the DAO could really use is welcome to join these conversations, provide their feedback, and kind of like build this together in a sense. And so that is one key aspect, as well as a private meeting with myself and maybe a core team from Aavegotchi, where we relay some of that information and turn it into actionable items. So those are just some other components there of collaboration and building it out. But yeah,
Yep,
this is yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, would love some questions. Like if there's anything, I was just going through the.
Yeah, are there specific questions to prompts or proposal management, or maybe have some more higher level questions and how that's going to work within DAO Manager?
Yeah.
My Calm is asking, how do you all stand out from the wave of additional AI suite of ChatGPT?
Oh, for sure, a lot of stuff is happening using ChatGPT. Like folks are developing some really, really amazing things for sure. But we're focusing on how it can really help, essentially how it can make. So like what I'm suggesting here, DAO Manager, of course, you can like copy paste a proposal ChatGPT and you can ask it to summarize it. But really, does it like your experience as a person working in a DAO really as smooth as possible? Because it has the very least context about what's really going on and a lot of data again and again if you're using any other tool as well. So this is something which is really embedded, which is really native on an entire DAO management suite itself. So that way, like we are targeting on a very specific niche, so to say.
Yes, to that as well, using ChatGPT regularly is it's not really the context is sometimes a lot talking about something specific as a DAO as DAOs, and then Aavegotchi does a specific type of DAO. The context can sometimes be lost because we are unique in that sense. My targeted AI tool sounds like a welcome development. I've confused many an AI with our space. Yeah, there's a lot of tools out there, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, the last thing we want to do is adopt 10 different tools for our DAO. That's something we've really just, we've tried DWork, we've tried other things, and at the end of the day, what it comes down to is just too many things, just too many platforms. You have Snapshot, Discord. You have all these different things that you have to interact with to get a full view of the DAO. And, to have it all on one page, like the DAO Manager, kind of makes more sense that way. And so I guess the goal here, though, the end goal, if you're talking about success, it would be for Aavegotchi DAO members only have to use the DAO Manager and Discord for their full experience, right? Sense with Aavegotchi DAO.
Yes. Indeed. So like it will be a one-stop shop for everything that would go on within the Aavegotchi, and we'll be working jointly together for that with you, for sure.
Okay, awesome. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to run this through. if people do have questions for you after the call here, where can they reach out to you directly in the DMs, or is there a specific place they can find you?
Oh, you can definitely reach out to me over on DMs. Like would love any kind of questions, or we can do also one thing. If you'd like to share those DMs, FF probably you can collect those, and if you'd like, I can share answers to those in the group as well.
Sure thing.
Any way you'd like.
Sure thing.
Of course,
Yeah,
available over on DM.
absolutely. And I'll start a forum post as well for anybody who wants to provide feedback async, and we can also provide the quotes and all the other background information once you guys have that. All right. Okay. Well, I appreciate your time, Amanik. Thank you for spending some time with us here today.
Thank you. Thank you so much, folks. Love being here. I'm really looking forward to this partnership.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, next up, I skipped ahead before, but we are talking about rarity farming. What's in store for the next season? And so we have this proposal, not a proposal, sorry, we have this post, and we also have a much higher level post here, imagining the future of protocol rewards. And I wanted to touch on both of these, and so just give me 1 second here, and we'll get right into it. All right.
By the way, Hefe, just now your mic is kind of not I don't know how to describe it, but like a bit scratchy, I guess.
Scratchy.
Clipping, yeah.
Clipping? Okay.
It sounds like the input is like it's like close to something that's kind of clipping the audio a little bit.
Test. Can you hear me? Is this better?
Yeah, we only hear it when you talk for a little bit, extended period.
Test. This is Hefe speaking. Okay, I'll turn my mic down a little bit. Maybe that might help.
Yeah, it might be.
Let me know if I'm getting
gain
too
or something.
quiet though. So
Okay.
I turned it down now. Test. Is this okay? I'm gonna keep talking, but let me know. Yeah, just let me know if things are sounding weird. Okay, so we have rarity farming. What's in store for the next season? The summary here, OP summary, proposes sticking with the June 1st start date for the next rarity farming season and discusses the possibility of a forge smithing leaderboard. Ask for thoughts on how much the leaderboard should earn and whether rewards should be taken from another category or added to the total. So we have some opinions here regarding rarity farming. And I'm curious now. Now we're too low. Okay. How are we now? I'm gonna turn it back up.
Oh, sounds good to me. Sounds good to me.
Yeah. You can always turn up the volume on your end as well if it's not to your liking. And so just talking about rarity farming rewards here and how they're going to be distributed, and maybe just looking at a larger picture view of imagining the future of protocol rewards in general. And so opinion one here, and I didn't put names for a specific, just because I don't think the person posting it is relevant right now for this specific discussion. I like the opt-in thing, claim rewards. Oh yeah, we'll touch on the opt-in as well. But these are just some opinions here, and I wanted to get your guys' kind of feedback on some of these things. And so opinion one is proposing a new category for smithing and suggests reducing rewards for BRS and XP to accommodate for that. Suggests rewarding the top 300 smithers with the same algorithm previously used for other categories. And also argues that smithing supports burning alloy and thus the wearable floor, and that individual smithing demonstrating a deeper level of engagement with the protocol. So there's some ideation here around potentially using smithing as part of the rarity farming. Opinion number 2 here, and these are just what I thought were the most significant strong points being made. But if you're in the audience here, again, if you're in the audience, you want to come up and speak on this. We all participate in rarity farming, and so everybody has an opinion here to share. So if you'd like to come up, or if you'd like to async in the chat, post your, you're definitely welcome to come up. See Dr. Wagme on stage. Welcome, GM.
Hey guys, I can speak briefly to this. Am I coming through clear?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Great. I don't know what the right decision is for us as a community and economically to have another rarity farming season. Obviously, it's expensive and we need a big picture for it. But whatever we decide, I liked the idea of having smithing as a part of it. I think it does a really nice job of capturing the spirit of what we've tried to incentivize previously, deeply engaging in the protocol, supporting native asset prices, like dressing up your gotchi. Like there's just a lot of good things that come with that. And the way I've proposed it would be to kind of take a little bit from each of the other categories to like supplement it. And so 5% of the total would go towards smithing. And also we're interested as the Forge team of doing some other sort of incentives too. Like perhaps we could drop schematics to top smith levels or other things like that, where we can move more and more towards incentivizing with native assets other than the ghost token to try to preserve our treasury and avoid downward pressure. So I know we're look more to the Forge team over the next couple of months to hear other ideas that we have, but I think it could be a fun start to at least think about these like other ways to incentivize engagement beyond just the ghost token.
Yeah, well said. Just reading the comments here. Yeah, it's unrelated. Opinion 2 here acknowledges rarity farming has many detractors and suggests finding a rewards paradigm that gets more support and enthusiasm. So that's, in a sense, what this could potentially, do. And so there could be other reward categories that, in addition to this, that could be added. But we start here with whatever's available, and so smithing is the newest skill, and so I'm kind of curious to know how everybody feels about integrating a new skill into our rarity farming leaderboard. Okay, you're speaking to the top 300 gotchis there, Dr. Wagme. And so, what are you guys seeing with smithing right now? Are you seeing most people are sticking to that one gotchi, like you're mentioning here? They're, it kind of makes sense that you're not going to spread it too thin and just have a bunch of average ones, right? But
Right. I think that's what's a really fun thing about the skills. It's a way to, it's one of our first tools that we have to monitor individual user engagement versus just like petting all of your gotchis. So I think that's a fun way to think about rewards for the individual user behind their army of gotchis or behind all of their assets. How can we reward that individual user and start building a player experience or user experience that's maybe not as gotchi centric and that is user centric. And I think the smithing level can do that a little bit.
yeah, and I mean, so do you see, like, in your opinion, for future rarity farming events, do you see it moving more towards like a protocol rewards event, and maybe it's not just exclusively rarity? Maybe there are other aspects, like you're saying, you could, because for your smithing level, it doesn't really count towards your rarity, but it is a new skill for the gotchi. So it now brings into question, like, all right, well, there's other ways protocol rewards can be distributed to this Aavegotchi. I'm sure smithing will not be the last skill that gets implemented here. We might have other ones in the future, and those might even qualify for some sort of protocol reward. So I do think it's a good conversation to have, because I think it is a change, a little bit of a precedent change from the past, but not necessarily a bad thing if we do it the right way, for sure. Um, some of the uh, some of the opinions here, if I'm just going to read this one out here, uh, first concern was just about the timing of new rarity round for rarity farming, potential moving too fast. But I think we've discussed that pretty thoroughly in the past. But the second point here is the proposed percentage of rewards cut, specifically for the smithing, in this individual's opinion, seems like the chunk being taken from BRS rewards, there could be a bigger chunk taken from BRS rewards if it's going to, reward the top 300, for example, being that, I think their rationale here is that the BRS rewards are um, the heaviest incentivizer for high BRS gotchis, for high net worth collections. And so I could see a lot of forging happening amongst the larger holders, for sure. And so I guess what this individual is getting at is, well, if the larger holders are going to be in this new competition and benefiting from it primarily, maybe the reward redistribution should come from where the largest distribution for their rewards comes from. You know what I'm saying? I know it takes from kinship and XP, and so I think this individual here is saying maybe we want to shift it more towards BRS, taking more of a cut from BRS, less from kinship or XP. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we need, a big picture view on what we're hoping to achieve with rarity farming in general, and then with each category, right? So like
Yeah.
XP, we're in like voting, and playing the mini games when they happen. With kinship, we're essentially giving rewards to people who have been around the longest. So it's like, what does it mean to be an OG? How does that matter, financially? Do we want to reward that because you were here longer, you get more money? And BRS, we're supporting the rarity of the gachi plus our wearable market. And so I think, the forging skill is more of a prospective engagement idea, right? Like, I want people to continue to be engaged in our ecosystem and to have ongoing experience. And I think that I'm trying to think about how we can have a more holistic prospective view on rarity farming and rewards. And kinship is already double what we're doing for XP. And even with like the slight nerf to kinship, it still is getting double the XP rewards. And so that's why I suggested taking a little bit extra out of kinship.
Interesting. Okay. And on your last point there, what are your thoughts on some people mention, and I think you might have even mentioned in your original post, perhaps having what's your thought around, how do I word this, exclusive forge competition versus being part of rarity farming? What are the kind of pros and cons to being involved in rarity farming, as opposed to, for example, having more of a siloed competition like what we see with the Alchemica spending competition? Is there a rationale here for integrating this into rarity farming instead of doing that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can use the construct of, predictable rarity farming to build other events around it, whether it's, forging event, or if it's immaterials game that he's developing, or if Thrivecoin is voted successfully. Kind of this idea of seasons and having lots of activity that's predictable, and we can have content that's distributed around the same time. It's just a lot easier for the community to understand, like, oh, these are all the ways that I can win or be rewarded
Yeah.
over 2 months, versus like, here's a season, like now it's time for Alchemica competition. I think having a predictable cadence for all things would be good, and we can use the structure that's worked for us over the last 5 seasons. And so I would like to see things worked in around that as much as possible, but that's my own take.
No, it's an interesting point that you're making there. It's almost like we've honored rarity farming and we continue honoring that, but in addition, now it's like, let's start a seasonal rewards program, and let's integrate everything into a seasonal reward, for sure. And there's many avenues to pursue there. I'm just going to read through a couple more opinions here. I'd love to get some of your guys' live opinions in the chat. Coder Dan, if you got anything to share here regarding future ideas. There were some interesting opinions I pulled from Phantasma's post, so shout out to you for making the future of protocol rewards kind of high level post. And so someone in there had proposed a trait-based leaderboard to boost vertical mobility in addition. And, you know, it gets a little technical. I'm not going to get too deep into the weeds unless you'd like to come up and explain. But additional, a trait-based leaderboard to boost vertical mobility in additional to the traditional BRS. So now we're getting into, you know, Dr. Wagme here is talking about the way the rewards are distributed. This post is more referring to the way the competition, specifically rarity farming, is designed. And so, you know, there's some interesting ideas around that as well that may not, you know, that may not get implemented in this next one because it is some significant changes maybe. But suggest dividing 70% of rarity rewards that go to BRS into 50% for the traditional system and then 20% for trait-based leaderboard. So the idea of a trait-based leaderboard would be a different trait that would be introduced with a, you know, VRF call, kind of like a multiplier. There'd be a luck factor, and it would determine the ranking of the trait at that time of the snapshot. And so it might be interesting, especially at the lower levels, to play the trait game, and maybe you're not focused on BRS, but you can over optimize for a specific trait. And if it happens to be that week where you can compete on that trait, that would actually give you a significant advantage for a short period of time. It might actually even create a glitter and alchemica sync, especially if the respec potions are going to be in play, especially if the things like the forge are in play for people to compete with certain traits. It's like, well, last week I used this item, it boosted this trait, and I earned off of it. But this week it's a different trait, and now what I'm going to do is I'll take my item, I'll forge it, I'll turn it into something else that works a little bit better with my gotchi, and now I'm a little bit more competitive in the subsequent trait category. And so the trait-based leaderboard is interesting to me as well. And so I kind of know what people think about adding a trait-based, if that's going to make things more complicated or if it's going to make things more interesting, you know. Oftentimes in games, the initial gut reaction is like, oh, it's too complicated. But really, sometimes if complexity is introduced the right way, it can be actually more interesting and more entertaining. But that's, you know, that's really up to the DAO and kind of what we think is the best path forward here. Of course, rarity farming and protocol rewards are going to be a continuously evolving competition, and maybe now moving towards more of a seasonal thing as opposed to inconsistent. I'm just reading the comments here a little bit. Thrax says, okay, predictable cadence for rarity farming as it exists doesn't really work though, as funds will run out within 1 to 2 years, assuming no more primary sales. And that is kind of like the big overarching concern that's always at the back of our minds here, is the sustainability of this. Which also brings me to another point. I think this is kind of a no-brainer, but what do we think about opt-ins for rarity farming? This is something we discussed. I believe there's even a SIG prop that went through, but I'll double check that. What do we think about opting in? And so that would mean, you know, a week before rarity farming, you would have a window where you would just sign a transaction, and that would be your opting in for your wallet, you know, for those gotchis. And so everything that wasn't, everyone that wasn't signed up would not get rewards. Those rewards get pushed back into the pool, and might be a little bit better way to manage, like more of a fiscally responsible way to manage rarity farming. Hardcore is saying, we all need to be more aware of how things are timed. Sometimes you want to double up, but sometimes you should be filling a gap. And there's 6 out of 8 weeks of nothing going on. So yeah, I think that was Dr. Wagme's point of kind of having seasonal rewards where there would be many pathways and many things going on. McCallum, how is Aavegotchi generating protocol-wide revenue? Are we spending very well? How are we earning? Yeah, these are good questions to ask. These are all important questions to ask here. Dr. Wagme responding to Phantasma. I'm not saying we shouldn't reward OGs. In my proposal, we're still rewarding kin with 2x the amount we reward XP. Don't think it's personally hard to sign up for Orium to pet your gotchis. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, what do we have around sustainability of rarity farming moving forward? Is that a big concern other people are thinking about, that we can move to seasonal rewards, and I think that'll be really good for the community and engagement, but that's always a concern as well, that we might shorten our runway significantly by being too liberal with protocol rewards as well at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I think it gets back to our ongoing problem of not understanding our mission and goals. Like, what are we trying to do here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And are we trying to be a place where we build games and build the future of like Web3 gaming and be the console of Polygon? And if that's like what our goal is, then you have to wonder, like, where does rarity farming fit into that? Is by far our biggest expense.
Yeah.
If we are trying to be a DeFi protocol that like pioneers like DeFi assets in like a really novel way, then you can like make an argument that way. So I think it's just, I'm really concerned about our community not being able to rally around like what we're really trying to accomplish. And that's
Yeah.
what makes the rarity farming discussion so difficult, especially when I think a lot of voices and engagement don't necessarily reflect like what's going to get voted through. So
Right.
it's a big thing we have to address as a community.
Yeah, well said. I think it is a kind of overarching, high level view of how we can actually make our processes more efficient overall. But I see Lavelle also recommending here, or just reduce prizes enough to make 4 to 5 year predictable secured cadence. But again, everybody would have to be on the same page with something like that. Yeah, Oliver Spoon. Yeah, we need to we need to generate revenue as a DAO at the end of the day. It's super important to our long-term sustainability if we want to keep doing cool things, funding projects, funding games. I mean, these are all really expensive endeavors, and they're really nice to haves for the protocol. But if we're at a basic level, not managing our own funds in a fiscally responsible way, or we are not thinking about ways the protocol can generate revenue, then we are almost slowly, doing a lot of harm. Coder Dan, this is probably closer to what we should do to make rarity farming more sustainable. He's referring to Lavelle's 4 to 5 year cadence plan. The DAO could check on how much it's brought in a quarter or period and distribute that amount to holders. Yeah. And I mean, I would love to see, I don't know if this was mentioned on Mikey J's proposal, but I would love to see on the dashboard, like, even if it's like a sad number, I'd like to see somewhere there, how much revenue did Aavegotchi DAO protocol create this quarter? And I think it would give us a little bit more context when we're having these discussions. And then second to that was also Dr. Wagme's point there about having really dialed in a mission on what Aavegotchi DAO is trying to do here, whether it's to revolutionize the future of Web3 gaming or revolutionize the future of DeFi on NFT assets on its own protocol. So I think we might have to move on here, but definitely check out those two posts. Provide your feedback there. We'll definitely follow up on this discussion next week, and yeah, we'll make sure we touch base on that one again. Next up, we got Awkward AI, Community POAPs. Awkward, are you in the building? Can I get you up on stage? Welcome, GM. Can you hear me all right? You are muted, sir. Awkward's being a little awkward right now. Are you having audio issues, sir? Sometimes if you log out of Discord and log back in at that's usually enough to fix it. Oh, mic issue. Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll give you a minute. I'll pull up your proposal here and just give folks a little bit of context. So we got community POAPs with awkward AI. His proposal to establish a community-sourced POAP contest to supply POAPs for DAO voting. And I'll give Awkward here a minute to fix his mic, but I can also run through a couple of points. Feel free to interrupt me, Awkward, if you're back online there. Proposal to establish a community source.
Hey.
Oh, there you go. Perfect timing. Awesome.
So yeah, so I turn off permissions in my browser for a variety of security reasons. I'm a super paranoid guy. Hello, everyone.
That's fair. Yeah. Hello, GM.
Yeah. So I see a lot of people have already looked at the proposal. Everyone can hear me, okay?
Yeah, you're coming through great, man.
Okay, great. Okay, so you can load the proposal. I would suggest people look at it on their own devices. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen and go through some of the talking points because it's a very straightforward proposal, but there are a lot of sticking points that need to be addressed before I can recommend this or push this to the community.
Well said.
So let me. Oh. Hold on, it wants to record my screen. That's not what I'm trying to do. Hold on. Yeah, share my screen. Just need to find, where's Discord? There we go. Oh wait, shit, that was the wrong thing probably. Where are you guys seeing right now? My Discord
no,
settings?
we can see there's a screen loading. Well, yeah, it's gone now, but
let's do the entire. Okay, here we go. This will fix everything, I think. Anyways, let me just post this anyways. Just so you guys have it and we can talk about it.
For sure.
My talking points. I haven't had to present on computer in a very long time, but let's go through it. So here's my POAP talk coming up. And the first thing I'd like to do is go over the schedule, the introduction, then we'll jump into the POAP design contest and we'll talk about those points for a little bit. And then I want to talk about kind of what my proposal is tying into, which is basically DAO marketing brand for Aavegotchi. I want to engineer the POAPs in a way, since we're paying for the art already, that we could capitalize on the art that we're already paying people to make in real life physical products that we could sell for a profit and actually pay to keep our presence going in real life at events. So that's kind of where this is all going to, and that's where I'll close out on. So a little bit about me. I'm a Atlanta-based artist. I've been in Bitcoin since 2012. I've been mining Bitcoin. I have 2 degrees. I have one in film and video production. I have one in a bachelor's of independent study for video game development and design also. For a living, I manage film sets and logistics for very large scale events. I work with Apple TV. I work with Netflix. All those companies I've worked for at some point or another. And in my spare time, in my hobbies, I like to make art. I make little DIY electronic toys. I design T-shirts. And I try to use these things that I create to pay my way into conventions and other stuff for free. So that's one of my hobbies. Now, moving on about what we're actually talking about here. I think everyone can agree that we want POAPs. There was a vote. I was there. I remember voting on it. We all voted to allow POAPs for voting, but no one ever really took the initiative and never did anything about it. So my takeaway is that people want co-ops, but no one's really trying to take the effort and energy into making it a reality. So my thought was, let's have a design contest. At the very least, we can generate, asking for 6 designs and selecting 5 artists, we can generate at least 30 co-ops that we can reuse here and there as needed. Um, so that is, I'm on slide number 4, if you guys are following along. Going down to the contest rules, you can read this all for yourselves. And there's some stuff that we should talk about, which obviously we should, if people like this idea and they want to go forward with it, we should agree on the categories and the iconography, which is something I would ask for Coder Dan's help on. Basically, I mean, I get that. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I'm just listening
Okay.
in. Yep.
Right. Okay. Like I get that Aavegotchi is kind of an offshoot of Aave. So Aavegotchi is already kind of taking some liberties, basing their brand identity off of Aavegotchi. So how far can we go to create some type of marketing brand for ourselves? If that's the way we want to go, it doesn't encroach on Pixelcraft's IP. And so I have some very generic iconography in parentheses next to my categories under contest rules that you can see. I think it's very self-explanatory, and if people have additional ideas for categories, that's great. Let's put them in the next proposal if this one is a success. Now, moving on, the submission details. This is kind of what I just touched upon in the last point. Where we need to just, if we're going to do this contest, we need to be crystal clear on what we're asking for from the community. And if we want to make that transition into in real life stuff, we need to make sure everything is absolutely uniform as far as the deliverables go with aspect ratios. We want everything to be uniform, especially if we're doing POAP collections. You don't want a million different POAPs that all look completely disjointed. And I'll go into why we want uniformity more when we get to the in real life stuff. But just something that when you see it and you see the way it's designed, like you're like, oh, okay, that's probably an Aavegotchi DAO image. That's something that we would want. And another aspect of all this is I did some research. I started to do some research into other DAOs that are providing POAPs for community votes, and I didn't see very many. Granted, I fell asleep early last night, but I do not see a very big presence of POAPs for DAO votes, and not that that's like something that that a DAO needs to have, but it's something that would set us apart from other DAOs. Like if they're like, oh shit, look at that. Like the Aavegotchi DAO has 60 POAPs, like everyone that votes on it gets a POAP. That's just another selling point. Like a lot of people are here voting for the experience, but just go over and beyond and do something that sets ourselves apart from other DAOs is kind of where I see this all going. Moving on to slide 7, I'm wrapping payment and implementation and execution kind of all into the same thing because this is all very straightforward. Like the payment that I'm asking for the value that we get, I think it's a good deal. You know, when I first initially floated this idea, I said let's have community design 5 POAPs. We'll pay them out 100 ghosts, and my thinking was 20 ghosts for each POAP. That's not a bad deal for us. And then I added the 6th category because the 6th category was very much needed. And that's when I was like, well, I should really bump up the reward to 200 ghosts, because if you're creating 6 of these things, it should take you about 2 hours to make each one, which comes out to about 12 hours. 200 ghosts it feels like fair compensation. Yeah. Especially if we pivot to in real life merchandise using the same items, then we have the option to give the artist a 10% ROI on profits. You know, once we take our cut, obviously, and that's a whole other mechanism that we could explore down the road. The time frame. So from the moment, real fast, let me back up and talk about implementation. I've saying my argument is that we already have someone signing these DAO votes, these props to go through. You know, if we streamline the process, it's maybe an extra 5 to 10 minutes for them to add the POAP to it as well. Like, I feel like it should just become a part of the process that people are already doing. And I apologize, I'm not really reading your comments, but I'll
We'll
get to
circle
that in a
back.
second.
Yeah, no, we'll circle back
Yes,
around to the
yes.
comments after. No worries.
Yeah. Now we've talked about payment and implementation. Implementation, if I need to be the person to stamp these fucking POAPs to make them happen, provided if we want dates and times and sig prop numbers and all that kind of stuff on there, I can do that. I can be that person. If we don't want to do that, then it's just another step that comes out of the process, and it just goes a lot easier. The time frame, you know, we're looking at 1 week to establish this contest, 2 weeks to actually run the contest, 1 week to do another DAO vote to select the winners, and then 2 weeks to get the artist submissions. So it gives us about 6 weeks to get 30 POAPs. And execution. I'd say that this is, you know, it's all laid out in this proposal that I put up, and I would urge anyone that has an issue with the execution to chime in on that thread. But I feel like everything I'm asking for is very, very doable.
Absolutely.
And it's not super intensive on one person. Like, it's not this person is now in charge of doing every single POAP. It's no, we get the stuff from the community. If someone needs to stamp it, someone stamps it, but then it goes into a database where anyone that's doing a prop can just pull it from that database and throw it on there. I don't care how we choose to distribute these things. I don't care if we do them randomly. Let's just get them and then figure that part out, because once we're there, it's just a couple of steps. Now, I'm moving on to slide 8. This is kind of my thinking. These icons that we got on Fireball GG are the perfect combination of simplicity and illustration of our points. You see these icons. It would not take someone more than a couple of hours to throw something like that together and just get it to us. And the simpler they are, the more we can pivot into making in real life stuff like pins. And pins have come a really long way. You can do glow in the dark pins. You can do enamel glitter pins. This company I was looking at does even rhinestones. So if you wanted to have a little Aavegotchi ghost and put a rhinestone where the spirit force is, that's an option. And we could make sets of these pins, and we could take them to conventions and sell them. And I think this is a good spot to pause for just a second on step 9, on slide 9, and see how everyone feels about what I've been saying so far.
Oh my God, dude, you're blowing my mind. Everything from your accolades to this idea. I think this is something we've all thought was a nice thing to have, and we've all been kind of ideating around this and kind of sitting around, circling around it for about 2 years now. And I don't think anybody disagrees this is a bad idea. Like, this is a great idea. And so I'm glad that you put together a plan here for execution and even a path to profitability for the DAO, speaking of the pins and whatnot. I'll take a couple questions from the chat here. So Choina asking here, I seem to recall POAP are very much limiting their issuance of POAPs, making them difficult to implement. Is this the case, or is this or is that kind of a myth?
I can't speak to that.
Okay.
I've never actually done anything regarding the POAPs. I just have an idea for getting the designs made.
Oh, okay. And so my count's following up. They've implemented POAP Premium on Polygon, which helps provide a better UX, but has a small fee for the claimer. So maybe if we're to use that service, we might just need to bundle that into your proposal as well as just as a cost.
Yeah.
So,
And I can do some research into that.
Yeah, I don't think it should be a problem though. I think honestly, from a financial perspective, your ask is pretty reasonable. For context, when GMI's done sticker contests in the past, we usually issue a 50 ghost bounty to the artist, and then we do
Okay.
usually 100 run of the stickers that we pay for. So that's usually how we do it. And so you're not far off on the 20 ghost. I would say you could probably even bump it up a little bit, and it would still be very reasonable.
Okay, and yeah, keep going.
Uh, Thrax is asking here, would there be one POAP per prop per proposal? Like, are we thinking for signal proposals and core proposals, or just specifically core proposals? That's when you get your POAP.
We would have well first off, I don't think we should give POAPs unless a proposal passes.
Yeah. Okay.
And then like but that also becomes another question. Well, what if the prop is yes or no on something and we shoot it down? Technically, that's a successful vote. So, should it still get a POAP? That's another question that maybe you guys can mull over. But when it comes down to issuance of POAPs, at the end of the contest, we will have 30 POAPs, which means we'll have a pool of 30 to pull from, and there's 6 categories for each one. So really, you would have from 6 to select 2, and for all I care, it could be a dice roll 1 through 6. But once that POAP is used, it would go out of circulation, and we'd have to move on to a next POAP. Once we get to a halfway point, I recommend we replicate the contest again, considering that would take us 6 weeks to get to deliverable POAPs. Like, it's something that we would need to think out in advance. We don't run out of the POAPs and then decide to have a contest. We decide to have another contest when we're like 30% left of POAPs. You know what I mean?
Yes. And so there would be a stock of POAPs that we can issue for proposals that are gonna upon passing that we could issue, but we never want to have that. We never want that reserve of POAPs to go run dry, because then we'll be waiting. There'll be a 6-week delay to actually even issue the POAP. And we're trying to. It sounds like we're trying to make this a really efficient process so that we're not waiting that long to get our POAPs.
Yeah. So Coder Dan just put a really good point that at this rate, 30 POAPs will last about 2 months. Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
That's a good problem to have.
It's not a terrible problem to have, but it also means that we're issuing a shit ton of POAPs in those 2 months, and that every time a POAP gets made, it's increasing our visibility as a DAO. Like just people randomly looking around on the POAP page goes, oh, the Aavegotchi DAO's got POAPs. They've got a lot of POAPs.
And you guys don't even know how aggressive these POAP hunters are. There are people that will never have heard about Aavegotchi in their life, and they will come to Aavegotchi and learn just enough just so they can get their POAP, because they are out there collecting as many POAPs as they can. So
yeah, and like I said, like, this isn't what I'm asking for. Is if it never happened, if we never passed this proposal, it still wouldn't matter, because people would still show up and vote. But having POAPs increases visibility. In my mind, it attracts more people to our community, if anything else.
yeah, absolutely. And even from a marketing perspective, instead of me posting on social media, hey, I just voted on Agip 69, I can say I got the POAP for Agip 69, and I'm going to post the POAP on my Twitter and show everybody, I voted in Aavegotchi DAO. So
yeah, exactly. And so that's my pitch on POAPs. There is a thread open for it. I see a lot of people, at least 30-something, 40-something people have read it. By all means, if you have ideas, put them in there, or throw them on Discord, or hit me up. I'm going to try to read these messages after the words, but I got a lot of stuff in front of me that I'm looking at. Anyways, but I'd like to move on now to taking those POAPs and creating a brand identity for the Aavegotchi DAO, and what that could potentially look like. I am on slide number 9.
Here we go.
And my pitch is this. You are going to an NFT convention. You are already going to a place that is specifically designed for people that love to purchase loot box already. It's going to be like shooting fishes in a barrel, because I could say, okay, well, we've got a 6-pin set of soju pins that were made as PO-ops, and we turned them into pins. And you can sell each one of those pins at, $10 minimum. But if you put them in a set, you could sell them at 60. Now, do I think at a convention that you are going to have 100 people buy a 6 set of pins at $60 a pop? I don't think you will. If they did, that's $6,000 cash in hand. But I think that a collectible set of pins is such a specific ask that you'll maybe only sell out 20 or 30% of them. So what you do instead is you do loot boxes. And I'm moving on to number 10. Slide 10. I've skipped ahead a little bit, but the idea is that if you look at what we did for ETH Denver, and I'm not pointing fingers, like, it is what it was. It was a great experiment. I remember when I initially saw the proposal for ETH Denver, I was like, oh, they're going to blow that budget out of the water. And that's just the reality of the situation. Like, when you're all over the place, you have multiple people, there's multiple events, it's going to run dry unless you have some type of like spending plan, which, we learn lessons, we move on. But if you look at ETH Denver, it would take $100,000 to sustain 3 in real life events for the Aavegotchi DAO in the course of a year. And I don't think that the value we would extract from those in real life events is worth $100,000. Unless someone can break down the numbers and show it to me, I don't know what that would be. So I say we need to pivot. And the case in point I use is when we turned off the curve, we had a whole bunch of DAI Ghost, and a conversation was started like, what do we do with that? Like, obviously we don't want it to languish. We don't want it to lose value. We need to maximize our value with the funds that we have. And so why wouldn't we do that for in real life events? Currently, as it is, we write a proposal, hey, we need XYZ for a live event, and the DAO funds it, and that's an A to B transaction. At the end of the day, that money is spent, it's gone, it's just gone from the DAO treasury. And so what I'm saying we do is, instead of asking the DAO for $10,000 to go to an in real life event, we take we ask the DAO for $10,000, and we turn it into $100,000 worth of product. That's the core of it. Now, this is a very big ask, and what we're doing right now is we're just kind of playing some mental exercises, because you could take this $10,000, you could turn it into $100,000 worth of merchandise, and then you could show up and put this merchandise into loot boxes at conventions. You only make 100 of them. They're super limited. They have, every loot box has something a little bit different. But you make 100 of them. I promise you will sell out of 100 loot boxes at a convention and make $10,000 off of 100 loot boxes. And how do you do that? Well, if I was to take a room full of 100 people at a convention and say, okay, does one of these people want to buy our loot box? Maybe. Like, I wouldn't put much stock in that. I would say out of a room of 100 people, one person is probably on the fence 50-50 about buying our loot box. You take a room full of 200 people, one person would definitely buy our loot box out of a room full of 100 people. But take a regular convention that has 30,000 people. You would only need to sell one loot box per every 300 people at that convention to sell out. That's 0.3% of the attendances of a con. And you would sell out and you'd have $10,000 cash in hand off of a $1,000 to $1,300 investment, if you break it down like that. So
I was just thinking, awkward. I think we've had a pretty good discussion around the first part of your idea here. How do you feel about maybe tackling the mystery box and the whole second part of this? Well, we do it next week. We do a second segment on it. I think that I mean, this is a lot of big brain stuff here, and I think I'm all for it. A lot of people here seem to really like the idea, but just this meeting's been a little bit heavy. I think I'm gonna look over
Yeah,
your
yeah,
slides, and then what we
yeah.
should
No,
do is tackle the mystery box next weekend, the second half of your slides here, and really just do a nice deep dive into that as well.
yeah. Just okay, we can do that, but just look ahead to slide 15,
Okay.
uh, where I pitch renting a penthouse suite instead of an Airbnb.
Ooh, you got my attention.
It's a little bit cheaper, and then you have a place on campus on the actual convention center to throw your in real life events.
Okay.
But I will leave it there because yeah, I've talked a lot. I've thrown a lot of stuff at you guys.
I think it's a good point to wrap up here for today, but I want to make sure I give ThriveCoin and also Coder Dan here just a minute if you just want to point folks to the XP feature you guys are working on before you peace out. If you can. If you can't, that's okay too.
Yeah, I can. Was hoping to get a little bit more time to maybe guide people through it, but essentially what we're working on, I kind of mentioned this on one call before. We are working on a new XP drop system that will enable people to claim their XP and instead of waiting for us to send it out. Much more streamlined, much more efficient. And so the first version of the dashboard is up. I'm just going to drop the link to it. It is live. It's not on the menu yet because it's still kind of in beta. So I want you guys to give it a play and let me know. Feel free to just at me here in the chat or whatever. Let me know if it looks good for you. Are you missing any gotchis? And I do want to make a note here where it says on the UI, it says all Aavegotchis you owned at the block the proposal was created are eligible. So that means, and then from that it says of that subset, only the Aavegotchis you currently own will receive XP. So what that means basically, if you owned 10 Aavegotchis at the time, well, let's say you own one Aavegotchi at the time the block was created, and now you own two. There's a chance that that second Aavegotchi that you have is not eligible for receiving XP. That's just how the XP claiming works because your Gotchi didn't vote on that proposal when you voted on it. So that's a change from how we currently do it, which is we currently check all the addresses that voted and we look at the most current, most recent block. We don't look back in time, but this system is going to be looking at the block at which the proposal was created and using that subset of the Aavegotchis of the owner for the claiming. So that's a significant change of how it works now. And I would say it's not either better or worse. I think they both have pros and cons, but this system is a much more manageable for the DAO and Pixelcraft to maintain. So we wanted to get this out and let people start playing with it. So there's currently two proposals that are up. They're both SIG props, the original kinship mechanics and the Rarity Farm Season 5 proposal. So when you sign on, it should let you know how many Aavegotchis you have to claim for each of those proposals, and then you should be able to claim the XP for those Aavegotchis by sending a transaction. So yeah, I'm just gonna drop it. I dropped the link here to check your XP. Just replace the URL for now. Just replace the address with your address, and then refresh the page, and it will load all of your Aavegotchis and all that for you. So yeah,
That was awesome.
let me know if you guys have any issues. As far as I'm sure the number one question is probably, well, what about the vault? I haven't chatted to Bearded yet, or I chatted a little bit to Dr. Wagme about this, and it's probably the easiest way to handle that will just be the vault will handle the XP claiming for all the vault gotchis. so the owners of those gotchis won't have to go out and claim XP for themselves. But I'll probably be DMing Bearded later this week, and we can talk about it. So currently, this UI does not support anything related to the vault, but the vault gotchis are eligible. It doesn't change any eligibility. Same eligibility. It's just this is a self-serve portal for claiming XP.
This is awesome. Yeah, this is a good change in my opinion. Hot curly fry, you got some real unclaimed XP, man. Dang. Holy.
It's gonna feel pretty cool. It's like I feel like this is gonna help with the voting a lot. Like when you can see the XP, the moment, like once that new airdrop hits, it's like a little Christmas, like every couple times a month or a week, depending on how many core props we have going out. So it's really easy for us. Once the core prop ends, we can essentially just run a quick script. And what we really want to do is automate it so that we don't have to do anything. And the moment the snapshot proposal ends, a new core prop and SIG prop XP airdrop can be created. But that's going to take a little bit more time. So for now, it's still manual, but much less manual than it was before. And once we have gone through about a week of beta testing with everyone, we will continue adding in the rest of the SIG props and core props that are currently outstanding, and we'll make a couple more improvements to the UI.
Nice. Yeah, it's looking good. Looking forward to my XP. It was always an unknown question how much XP I was getting, and you just know the number of your XP is going up. You don't actually know, like, did you receive it? Like, where is it? And yeah, especially for like voting on proposals too, when your core prop passes and it's like your gotcha is supposed to get XP. You want to make sure that gets delivered. So
yeah, we want to reduce that. Currently, it's like it's a whole thing giving out XP because we have to deal with the blockchain, and it's like an airdrop that happens multiple times a week, and airdrops are notoriously hard to do in a kind of a stable way, especially when the blockchain gas is going up, spiking like 3 or 4 times. It can be pretty difficult.
You got to supervise your script.
Yep. So this will be much easier. We just need to do literally one transaction per airdrop, and then the claimers you guys will be the ones doing the XP claiming.
Okay, awesome. Oh, god damn, Dr. Wake Me. I imagine that's very satisfying. It's like a mini Christmas. We got Thrive Giraffe. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm gonna head out here. Thanks everyone. Have a great Sunday.
Absolutely. We'll get Thrive Giraffe up here. I see Senate in the house as well. We'll wrap up the call here with Thrive Coin, and we have a follow-up call tomorrow morning as well. So join us for that. But I'll let you take it away, Thrive Giraffe.
Yeah, thanks. I know
Thank you
it's
for your
super
patience,
late.
by the way.
Absolutely, no problem. I know it's super late, so I promise I'll just be a minute. So for those who don't know me, my name is Daniel, or Thrive Giraffe. I'm a co-founder of ThriveCoin, and I'm one of the people behind the Thank Aavegotchi proposal that we've been co-creating with a ton of the members of this DAO. And I'm super excited to announce that the Thank Aavegotchi pilot proposal is finally going to be going to vote today after this meeting. And for those of you who don't know about it, it's a very simple idea. Basically, you deserve to be thanked, to be rewarded and recognized for the contributions that you make to this DAO. And we believe that when you are thanked, when you are rewarded and recognized, you're going to want to contribute more. And there will be greater utility, efficiency, and value that's created for the DAO. And the Thrive protocol that powers this proposal is really unique. It auto-validates any theoretically millions, but practically hundreds or thousands of ways in which you contribute, not just in game, but in discourse and Discord and Twitter and all over the place with POAP rewards. It then auto rewards you, and it auto records receipts on chain that we show you as a thank you note. And we've implemented similar kinds of projects with ApeCoin and Bankless DAO. We've seen tons and tons of success, and there's so much values and vision alignment with Aavegotchi. So thank Aavegotchi pilot proposal. Going to vote today after this meeting, and very quickly just wanted to share a few changes that you'll see in the proposal. And we made these changes based on the feedback that we received in this meeting last week, as well as in our weekly office hours that we'll have again tomorrow if you want to come join us, and also some feedback that we got in one-on-one conversations. So the first big change is that we have decreased the pilot length from 6 months to 3 months, which effectively cuts the cost of the pilot in half. And the second big change, which I'm really excited about, is during this pilot, we will test 3 different formats, and we'll be testing them in separate 1-month seasons. So season 1, there will be about 15,000 goes that are raffled off to, we think it'll be 30 winners. So each contribution that you make to the DAO will earn you effectively raffle tickets. Season 2, we'll experiment with 15,000 total goes, rewarding each valuable contribution that you make. So you'll get something for each contribution. And then season 3, with 15,000 total goes, rewarding you in rarity farming style, which I'm personally really excited about. And at the culmination of that 3rd month, the community will vote on which rewards format you prefer. And if a follow-up proposal passes to continue our pilot for an additional 3 months, we'll focus that second 3 months on rewarding you in just the winning rewards format. So those are the 2 big changes. Super excited to have this thing finally go to vote. We have been really thoughtful and, taking the time we needed to make sure that this is a proposal that reflects your desires, your excitement, and your collaboration. So thank you so much for working with us to make this happen.
Honestly, thank you guys for working closely with the community and hearing some of the concerns. I know, like you said, the pilot period was one of the major concerns that was brought up, and I appreciate you addressing, and hopefully that does alleviate any kind of concerns people have around the length of trial, or I think we just need. This is one of those things where we just have to do it and see it in action, see it working to get a feel for it. And so I'm looking forward to getting engaged with this for sure. And so keep an eye out for that SIG prop. You said that that's going live just after this meeting.
Yeah, as soon as Thrax wakes up from great Saturday night, we'll make it happen.
Awesome. Okay, that's awesome. Yep. So keep an eye out for that. And tomorrow we have a Thrive community call here in the Discord. I posted the link in the stage chat here. So if you are interested, you can set your reminder there. For me, PST, it's 9:30 a.m. So around 12:30, like around noon, for the East Coast there. And so, yeah, if you have any questions specifically regarding the proposal, you look at the SIG prop tonight and you got some questions, definitely bring them to the call tomorrow, and would love to address those.
Absolutely. Thanks for giving me a second up here. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yep, totally. Anything else, friends? Do we got anything else for this meeting here today? Oh yeah, Artcore, you'll be on an airplane. Do not worry if you're not there tomorrow, but you would like in. You can also DM me your questions and I can bring them to the call. And if you'd just like to go back and see the recording, follow Aavegotchi DAO on YouTube. We got all our live streams from the Sunday DAO calls, all the weekly calls from DAO Lens and ThriveCoin being posted up there as well. So with that being said, I think we can call it a wrap. Thank you all for sticking around. I feel like everybody in here deserves a POAP just for making it this far. And we will be back here again next weekend, 2 p.m. UTC for Aavegotchi DAO. Plenty of things happening in between there. You can check out GM with GMI. Monday mornings, we're hanging out. Wednesday evening with Aavegotchi and Jesse Goldencross, chopping it up on Twitter Spaces. And then you know what we do on Friday nights. So hope everybody is having a good week, or have a good week, and enjoy the rest of your weekend, friends. Peace out.
Bye.